Today we're exploring plant classification, what it means, why it matters, and how it can help you when buying plants for your garden or home. If you've ever been puzzled by the names on plant labels or wondered why some plants are grouped together, stay tuned because we're breaking it all down today. Let's start with the basics. Plant classification is the way botanists organise plants into groups based on shared characteristics. It's a hierarchical system, going from broad categories like the plant kingdom all the way down to individual species. But why is this important, especially when you're buying plants? How does knowing a plant's classification help you make better choices for your garden? Let's dig in. Understanding plant classification is crucial when selecting the right plants for your home or garden. It helps you know how a plant will behave and what it needs to thrive. For instance, plants from the same genus or family often have similar care requirements. If you know that a plant belongs to the Cactaceae family, you'll immediately recognise that it's likely drought tolerant and won't need much watering, perfect for a low maintenance sunny garden. On the other hand, plants from the Rosaceae family, like roses, may have higher water and nutrient needs. Knowing this up front can save you from choosing a plant that might struggle in your environment. So by understanding how plants are grouped, you can make better decisions that fit your garden's climate, soil and light conditions. Now let's talk about the criteria used to classify plants. Traditionally, plants were grouped based on physical characteristics like leaf shape, flower structure and root systems. But as botany has advanced, other factors have become just as important. Here are the main criteria. Number 1. Morphological features. These include a plant's visible traits, leaves, flowers, stems and roots. Number 2. Reproductive structures. Flowering plants are classified based on how they reproduce, while non-flowering plants like ferns are grouped by how they produce spores. Number 3. Genetics. DNA now plays a major role in plant classification, revealing relationships that weren't obvious before. Number 4. Growth habits. Whether a plant is a tree, shrub or vine also influences its classification. For instance, both pea plants and acacia trees belong to the Fabaceae family because they share similar flower structures. Number 5. Ecological adaptations. Plants are also classified by how they adapt to their environments. Desert plants, aquatic plants and tropical plants have evolved differently, and these adaptations help group them. Plants are classified using a hierarchical system known as taxonomy, which organises them based on shared characteristics, from the most general, kingdom, to the most specific, species. The classification system includes several levels or ranks. The primary levels of classification for plants are: Number 1, at the top, kingdom, the broadest category. All plants belong to the Plantae kingdom. Number 2, phylum or division. Plants are divided into large groups based on key characteristics like the presence of vascular tissues or seeds. Common divisions include bryophyta, which is non-vascular plants, for example mosses. Pteridophyta, that's seedless vascular plants, for example ferns. Coniferophyta, they're cone-bearing plants, obviously conifers. Or Magliophyta, or angiosperms, which are flowering plants. Next there is class, which further subdivides plants based on specific characteristics. Examples would be monocotyledons or monocots and dicotyledons or dicots. Next comes the order, which groups plants with similar features and evolutionary traits. For instance, the order Rosalys includes roses and other flowering plants. Next comes family, and this groups related plants together. Plants in the same family share more similarities. Examples would be Rosaceae, the rose family, which includes roses, apples and strawberries, or Asteraceae, the daisy family, which includes sunflowers, asters and daisies. The groups that we've just mentioned, kingdom, phylum or division, order, family, these groups generally don't appear on plant labels. What appears on the label is the genus, the species, and the variety, subspecies, or cultivar. These follow now in the taxonomy. Next comes genus. It's a group of closely related species. The genus name is always capitalized, and you'll sometimes see it in italics in scientific names. Examples would be Rosa, which is roses, Quercus, which is oaks, or Acer, which is the maples. Next comes the species, the most specific level of classification, referring to individual plants that can breed and produce fertile offspring. The species name is lowercase and sometimes in italics in scientific names. For example, Rosa gallica and Quercus alba. Next comes the variety, or subspecies, or cultivar. These levels refer to variations within a species that have distinct traits. Examples would be Brassica oleracea, variation capitata, which is a cabbage, or Rosa gallica officinalis, which is the apothecary's rose. If that's a bit confusing, let's just quickly recap on how this all fits in with the taxonomy. Here's how each part relates to the classification system. The genus, this is the first part of the scientific name, always has a capital letter at the beginning. For example, Rosa gallica, or the Gallica rose, Rosa is the genus. Next comes species. This is the second part of the scientific name that identifies the specific plant within the genus, but it's not capitalized. It doesn't have a capital letter. It has a small letter at the beginning. For example, in Rosa gallica, the gallica is the species and the G will be a small g. Next comes the variety or subspecies. This optional part of the scientific name comes after the species and indicates a naturally occurring variation within the species. For example, Brassica odoraceae variation italica, which is broccoli, where italica is the variety. Or it could be cultivar, a cultivated variety of the plant, often bred for particular traits, and it is written in single quotation marks and not in italics. For example, Rosa gallica officinalis, and the officinalis is in quotation marks. It is a specific cultivar of the Gallica rose. But here's another interesting thing about plant names. What do these words like italica and officinalis actually mean? Well, they're all Latin-based descriptive terms. Italica means from Italy, and officinalis means it's been used in medicine. Now, these descriptive terms tend to be in different groups. You have the origins, like where they come from, so you'd have Japonicus from Japan, or Sinensis from China, Indicus from India, Africanus from Africa, and so on. Then there's colour, so we'll have alba as white, ruba as red, aurea, which is golden or yellow, lutea, which is yellow, purpurea, which is purple obviously. And then we got shape and structure, so alternifolia, which is having alternate leaves, pinnata, which is feather-like or dividing into leaflets, cordata, heart-shaped leaves, macrophylla, large, microphylla, small-leaved, oblongata, oblong-shaped, and so on. And then we have growth habit, so repens, which is creeping or trailing, prostrata, which is lying flat or creeping, scandens, which is climbing, vulgaris, which is common, sativa, which is cultivated or used in agriculture, arborea, which is tree-like, sempervirens, which is evergreen, gigantea, which is obviously giant, glabra, smooth or without hairs, and then we have habitat or environment. So we have things like montana, which is found in mountains, palustris, which is from marshy areas, maritima from coastal regions, littoralis growing near shores, or campestris found in fields or plains, and then there are some miscellaneous ones, and this is where officinalis comes from, which is used medicinally, vulgaris common or widespread, vernal, which is appearing in spring, odorata, which means fragrant, and then we have the animal references. So acina, which is bear-like, caprifolia, which is goat-leaved, bicornus, which is two-horned, or draconis, which is dragon-like. A full list of these can be found on the website. Thanks for tuning in to UK Tropicals. Until next time, happy gardening.